In this video, we will be covering tuples in Python. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a tuple. And getting the first item in the tuple is very easy. We can just use the index value. So if I go ahead and print players and 0 index, I will get the first item in the tuple. I'm going to go ahead and create a couple more tuples. We'll create one of just numbers. We can use any data type. So we'll just go 1, 2, and 3. Now notice we used parentheses on the previous one. So we can add them also without parentheses and it will still work. We can also combine tuples. So I'll just create a variable called combined and set that to numbers and more. Now notice what happens when we do this. What we have is a tuple that consists of two tuples. This is much different than concatenating. If we go ahead and concatenate these, so we're going to add using the plus operator and more. Let's go ahead and just print that out. We have a quick error here. I meant to type in print. And notice how this is completely different. In the combined variable, we have a tuple consisting of two tuples. In the concat variable, we have a single tuple consisting of 6 separate numbers. Just for comparison reasons, we go ahead and print the first one of each. So we're going to print the first item in combined, and that's going to return us a single tuple consisting of 1, 2, and 3. If we go ahead and print the concat first item in the concat variable, that's just going to leave us with 1. And notice the data type is going to be different also. If we print the type for combined versus that of concat, what we have is a tuple for the first item and then obviously a integer for the other one. Now it's also important to note that tuples are immutable. So if we try to set a different, let's say in the players tuple, we try to set a different value by saying players 0 is now Cal Ripken. That's going to give us a type error. Once a tuple variable is set, it cannot be changed. And they also have a fixed length from the get-go. So the players tuple is going to always be 3 items unless we set a new variable. Let's go ahead and comment that out to hide the error for the next example. We can also initialize an empty tuple. And we do that just simply by setting parentheses. Then if we go ahead and print out the type, that is still going to return us a tuple. If we print the actual value, then it's going to look the same as what we initialized it, just a set of parentheses. Now we covered earlier that the parentheses aren't required when initializing that, but if we print the variable or inspect the variable using a breakpoint or something, it's always going to have the parentheses for clarity reasons. So my approach is just to always use the parentheses. And then we can also initialize a tuple with just a single item. So we'll just go ahead and create a variable called oneItem. And this time we will need the parentheses. So let's go hello for the first item. And then we must add something to indicate that it's a tuple. So we're going to just use the comma. So we do not need anything to the right of the comma between that and the closing parentheses, but the comma is necessary to create a tuple. Otherwise it would just be a string. So print oneItem, and that's going to return us the exact same value, which is a tuple consisting of a single item. Now, one area where tuples come in handy are or through the use of functions. Let's say we're going to create a function that's going to return two values. We'll go ahead and put in an example. So we'll have a get stats function, and for the arguments, we're going to take hits, at bats, and total bases. And let's go ahead and so we're going to calculate the batting average first. So it's going to take hits divided by the at bats, and then slugging percentage. That is total bases divided by at bats. And so we're going to return two values, average and slugging percentage. So if we have a SETI stats variable and call get stats, we'll just pass in a few values here. Then if we go ahead and print the stats, we see that we'll return two values. Now, just to make this a little bit cleaner, we can go ahead and round these off. And go ahead and rerun that. So we got a batting average of 317 and a slugging percentage of 607. Another thing we can do is we can list these separately as two separate variables. So let's say I don't want a tuple. I just want two variables, one average, one slugging percentage. We can do the same thing as before, call get stats. 549. Then if we go ahead and print the average, and then we'll go ahead and print the type also, because as we can see that we have just a single value, a single float value set to the average variable that we set. And slugging percentage is going to be the exact same thing. So we can list our variables if we're returning a tuple, and then it'll automatically be split into separate variables. We can also convert lists to tuples. So I'm just going to create a quick list right here with 7, 8, and 9. Now I'm going to set a variable called converted and convert that to a tuple with our num list. And if we go ahead and print converted, so the value that's returned to us, a list in Python is enclosed in brackets, whereas a tuple is enclosed in the parentheses. And as you can see in what we printed after it was converted, we have the tuple parentheses. Now, similar to the average and slugging percentage, we can unpack these by just simply setting separate variables. And so we have three variables, 7, 8, and 9 spelled out. And then if we print 7, we just have the first value. So this covers the basics of using tuples in Python. Thank you for watching.